In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to isolate tangled lashes. So we're going to go through how to isolate, some tips and tricks, and we're going to start with some really tangled ones here. So we want to use both tweezers when we're doing this and just sort of file through those lashes. The first few lashes that you're going to isolate are usually the hardest, I find, because there aren't any extensions on there and they're just a little bit harder to get at. So don't worry about those first few. Try to find the first few that are easier, that are long, that are just kind of wanting to be isolated. You want to isolate close to the root of the natural lash. That's going to make sure that any baby lashes are not sneaking into your isolated area. So you can see there's one little lash there, and we're wanting to keep that at bay. We don't want it coming in, and we don't want it getting stuck to the lash extension. So we want to keep those isolation tweezers open while we're picking up our fan or picking up our classic lash or whatever it is that you're applying. Keep holding the isolation while applying the extension. So you want to make sure you're holding that isolation and waiting for your glue to dry before you let go of that isolation tweezer. So this will get easier with time as you're going along and more extensions are applied. You're going to have an easier time. You can use those extensions to help you isolate. It does end up making it easier. For some of these lashes, you won't even need both of the tweezers. You're going to be able to just isolate with one. Some of them are so easy to isolate, but for any of the tangled lash, it is best to use both of those tweezers. It just makes it a lot easier to file through, and you want to make sure again that you are staying nice and close to the root of that lash. But what you don't want to do is be pushing down on the iPad at all. You want to be really careful of that. You don't want to move that iPad or readjust it at all. Now you want to watch for those baby lashes trying to sneak into that isolated area, because while the glue is drying, it may dry in 0.5 seconds if you're using a fast glue dry time. But if you're a beginner and your lash glue takes 2 seconds to dry, you want to make sure that you're waiting those 2 seconds for that to dry before you let any of those neighboring lashes come back into the isolated area, because you don't want the lashes getting glued together. Now taping is the next thing I'd recommend for helping with isolation. So you can use any of your favorite lash tapes. That's the ESLASHES micropore tape. For straight lashes, sometimes it can be hard to isolate, so it's going to help with those super straight lashes or ones that grow in a downwards direction. So whenever we're taping, we want to use a lash mirror to just make sure that the eye is closed. But taping for straight lashes really lifts the lashes up so that they are easier to isolate and also easier to apply. So you can see there, isolating does get easier with time, so definitely gets easier over time. You keep doing it, it's going to get easier and easier. But the inner and outer corners can be extra tricky. Like, no matter how long you've been doing it, there are some people's inner and outer corners that are just so hard to do. But don't worry, these taping tricks definitely help. And for outer corners, we're going to place the tape in the center of the lid and pull gently and secure on the nose. So you want to be really gentle and careful while you're doing this, but look at how that kind of spreads the lashes apart so that they're going to be so much easier to isolate. And that's what we want. We don't want to make our jobs harder. This is going to help make your job easier, and I absolutely love using lash tape to help with isolating and application. So you can see there just how much better that is and how much easier it is to get at all those outer corners. They were so tangled before, but now thanks to the help of lash tape, it's a lot easier to isolate. I don't even need that second tweezer to isolate. I can just put my tweezer down, hold the lash open, and apply the fan. Now, taping for inner corners, same thing. I pretty much don't do any set without taping for those inner corners. So you want to place it on the center of the lid and gently pull it towards the ear and place the tape down. See how much that separates those lashes. It's so much easier to isolate if you do this. And if you're having a hard time still, you can try using different tweezers. It does help to have a variety on hand, have a straight pair, a curved pair, an inner corner pair, and just figure out what your weapon of choice is, because tweezers are our best friends and our best tools when they're working for us. So it's nice to have a variety, because everybody's eye shape and face shape can be different, and sometimes different tweezers really do the job, especially when you're working on inner corners and outer corners. Sometimes it just makes sense to switch out the tweezer, and then you start having such an easier time when you were having a bit of a hard time. So we've got another lash isolated here right in the center. Again, this is the most important thing. You want to wash for those lashes that are sneaking in, sometimes the tweezer can start to slowly move if it's not held in place while, let's say, you're dipping your lash in fan, or if you're struggling in your glue, you're struggling with a fan. This can always be easily fixed, so you can just go right back in with your lash tweezer there and just make sure it's properly isolated. And guys, practice makes progress. If you keep practicing this every day, you will get so much better at it. And I really want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions about lashing or isolation, just make sure you hit me in the comments below. And if you liked this video, you want to see more videos like this one, just make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below.